Salutations Araxians and welcome to PlanetSide 2 Sneak Peeks. I'm Margaret Crone and today we are going to interview the quality assurance team, so come along with me. Welcome, thank you for joining me, Chris. Why don't you tell these guys what you do here at Sony Online Entertainment?
I drink a lot of scotch.
He wishes he did that?
No. I currently am the quality assurance lead for the PlanetSide 2 project. We invest in finding all the bugs that you guys don't get to see and missing the bugs that you guys do see on live. So.
Well, and sometimes, you know, we just let things go and you guys are not happy with that as well.
No, we always regret anything we miss, but sometimes we have to rely on the PS2 community to find stuff for us.
That's true. It's always nice. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining me, Nick. Will you like to introduce yourself to all the people on the interwebs?
Yes, I am Nick Montez. I am currently a QA analyst here at Sony Online Entertainment on the PlanetSide 2 team, and I am the secondary point of contact working with Chris Payton.
My name is Madeline. I am a QA tester here. I mostly work on code stuff, so that's UI and mechanics, things like that.
So I just want to get into some of these questions that these guys sent to us from Twitter.
Great.
The first one here is from Insane Lampshade. It's pretty awesome name.
I love
there.
lamp.
We actually have someone here named, his last
Andy
name is Lamp, so it's kind of funny. His question here is, other than throwing people at QA, what do you think is the best way to approach testing a large-scale game like this? And, you know, we're obviously talking about PlanetSide 2 here.
Great. In a game of this scale, and we had such a short development cycle, we have to try to plan to be as agile as process. What that means is in the first few months leading up to launch, we try to prep and plan and build test plans based off of whatever release notes or design information we can get. Once we get to a place where we're ready to actually test the game, then we break up into smaller teams, and those teams are dedicated to some sort of feature in the game, whether that's art, code, design, or audio. What this allows us to do is to be more efficient in finding out what needs to get taken care of immediately and what we can put off for later on in time.
That was very thorough.
Thank you.
He's prepared. All right, so for the next question we have here, this is also from Insane Lampshade. I just thought it was kind of a cool question, so I wanted to make sure it got out there. This one was, how do you deal with the sheer volume of player bug reports and collate that data with your own?
A lot like we just answered. We break the team up into we have a /bug dedicated group of about 4 guys. They look at Twitter, they look at Reddit, they look at forums, player maintained sites such as PlanetSide Universe, all of that just to try to parse information and try to find reproduction cases for bugs that we may have missed.
Awesome. It's always good to hear that you guys are looking at other sources. We also found out last week that CS is doing the same thing. They're looking for people with problems, whether that's on Twitter, on Facebook, on our forums, and I think that that's great.
Yeah, not everyone's involved in all sources of media, so we have to make sure that we're parsing everything to get everything.
Yeah, because we don't want anyone to have a bad time in our game.
Correct.
Right? Our next question here is from Reese Holland, and he is at Drunky Munkin on Twitter, and his question here is, do you prefer a formal bug report, as if written by a tester, or more of an essay-style report about an identified bug?
We actually use both, to be honest. We train testers to follow a process that we found that works here at SOE. This includes a basic framework of how we expect bugs to be presented to dev. It also includes nomenclatures that are industry and SOE specific. As far as player bugs go, we actually like it when they give us as much detail as possible, which would be the essay style that you're talking about. We can never have too much information to find a bug, and anything that anyone can do helps.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times what I always tell people to do, just because I think it's very simple, is just state what your bug is, give us really in-depth details on your steps that you're having to take to reproduce the bug, and then tell us what you think it should be doing or how you would suggest it should be acting.
Correct.
It's always a good way.
A good analogy is it's like looking at a grain of sand on one of our local beaches. You can find other grains of sand, thousands of them, that look exactly like the grain of sand you're looking for, but when you break it down and start looking at the core elements, then you find that it's not actually what you're looking for. That can be insurmountable sometimes, but with the help of the community, with the help of my good testers, with the help of even devs sometimes, they help us identify bugs. We come to a place, typically speaking, where we find all those issues, and it's really reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, the major thing for us too is that we're always trying to find these bugs as quickly as possible, get them fixed before they even get out to live servers, but sometimes it doesn't happen quite that way.
Unfortunately not.
Our next question here is from Legade VS, and he wants to know, did the QA team find heat ammunition for vehicles a necessary niche while testing it on the internal builds?
It's a good question. Sometimes we have, or our job as a QA analyst is to find ways around certain bugs or features that might prevent us from fully testing something. This is why we spend so much prep time in the beginning to make sure that we have tools created by coders and other designers so that we can bypass those restrictions such as this example.
Yeah. All right, our next question here is from Freddie C, and he wants to know, question for QA, what's your favorite part of your job?
It's actually a pretty loaded question. For me, it's more an example of, I don't look at this as a job, I look at it as a career. There are certainly days where I wake up and I'd rather just sit on my couch and watch TV or play games. But I never look at it and say, God, SOE is such a dungeon, why I hate working here. I come here, the people are great, everyone's nice to each other. It's just like the gaming community itself. It's built on acceptance, and that follows the industry just to a T.
Free bagels and donuts on Fridays.
That's your favorite part of your job? You're just like food. Free food, always a win.
No, I like my job. I get to play a game all day, so.
Everything. I mean,
Everything.
every time every time you come into work, it's just always fun. It's always new and exciting. Of course, I mean, there's days when I want to be lazy at home and I just want to hang out and play video games, which is kind of weird because I play video games all day, but it's a little different.
Well, I mean, the major thing here is that you're not just playing video games, you're also testing certain aspects of the game, so you don't really get to fully just play it.
It's definitely true. Kind of saying that we play video games all the time is saying like a geologist looks at rocks all day and just plays with them. So.
One of the greatest parts about working at SOE, well, I think working in the game industry, is that you're working with people who have common interests with you. A lot of the times, I have a lot of friends who are maybe not as geeky as me, and when I say things, they're like, what is she on about?
Yes.
But if I say it to someone who gets it, they're laughing, they're having a good time, and so I think that that atmosphere is really nice for us.
We are a tight-knit community.
Yeah. We always call ourselves like a family,
Yep.
a team or a family, you know. All right, our next question here is from Dennis, and he wants to know, what are your biggest fears when the Player Studio will be launched?
In regards to Player Studio, it's nothing that we can fear really yet. We're as excited as you guys are and as the community is to see something as novel as this come to fruition. Mm-hmm. One risk that we've talked about in the short time we've known about it is testing time. But this is nothing new to the Player Studio. It'll be the same with any feature, any system you're trying to test.
Yeah.
Testing time is always going to be a roadblock.
Yeah, and I think that we've also gotten a lot of feedback from our previous games that we've done. If you don't know what Player Studio is, it's basically a way for our players to create content or art assets and things like that we can put into our game, and you'll actually be making money off that, which is really, really neat. And it's something that we haven't ever really tried until recently. And we do have this in Free Realms and in EQ and in EQ2, so we're kind of learning from those games as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Our next question here is from Ian. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced, and he is at segfault314 on Twitter, and he wants to know, what's the strangest bug you've seen in the game? There's a lot.
There's always strange bugs.
My favorite
within
was
the
when the
project.
weapon was like stuck in the crotch area.
Yes, yeah, the crotchular region.
Or the
bug,
knife
yeah.
was.
Yes,
it was like
yes.
right in your.
For me, we had a bug. This was pre-alpha when we were testing vehicles, and every time you get in a vehicle, you would get immediately ejected from the vehicle. We couldn't figure out
Like
what
I
it
wanted
was.
it.
Yes. So we opened up the debug console, started doing some further testing, and all of a sudden we started getting this some console information back to us. It just said, you've been ejected from the vehicle because female. For those of us that have significant others, I tried to use that in real life and say, well, you've been ejected, honey, because you're female.
No,
But, it
that
doesn't work
didn't
very
work
well.
very
No, I got in a
well.
little bit
I
of
know
trouble.
his wife too.
It would have to be the squids, which was the dead bodies that would move around. So you'd get stuck in the death pose, and you would just slide around and fly up and down and shoot.
It was pretty funny. We're just seeing dead bodies all over the place. It was pretty humorous.
I think one of the strangest and most awesome ones that I saw was early on. There was an early alpha stage of the game. We had just gotten a brand new build, and we were driving around in our vehicles, and we like to call this one the popcorn bug, because every time you would drive your vehicle, you would be driving in a straight line, and for no apparent reason whatsoever, your vehicle would fly hundreds of feet high up into the air and across the zone, and there was no rhyme or reason to it at all. So you would be driving a Sunder or a quad or something, and you would just be driving, and all of a sudden, boom, pop high up into the air,
shot
and you
into
just
space.
fly. And we had a bunch of us doing this all at the same time, and actually a few developers came on the build too, and they saw us, and they all joined in, so there was about 20 of us just on the server.
Well, we should have gotten
popping
B-roll of
vehicles all
that.
over the place. It was pretty fun.
We should have contacted the AV. They would have loved, loved to videotape that. Our next couple questions here are from Z Company. They're an outfit that we have in our game. They're pretty awesome. And their question here is, for the QA team, what is your favorite snack during those long hours of testing possible bug fixes? And believe me, these guys work some long hours sometimes.
Yes, we do. That's an easy question for me to answer. It's Scotch and tears.
It's kind of weird, but I've actually been eating a lot of wasabi and soy sauce almonds.
Wasabi and soy sauce.
Sounds
almonds.
weird, but it's
They're
freaking
delicious.
awesome. It's delicious.
Are they like spicy little almonds then?
Yeah, they have a little bit of spice, a little bit of salt. Really good.
Delicious.
I guess pizza or lemonade. I have a whole row of lemons.
Just lemonade.
Yes.
I like lemonade. I'm down with that.
But in all honesty, probably pizza. It's the one thing we continually eat over
Really?
and over
You're still okay
again.
with eating pizza?
It has all the
after-
basic food groups in it, and everyone's usually pretty accustomed to it. So yeah, probably pizza.
He's only saying that because he's a boss.
Yes, only because we eat pizza
And it's easy.
5 to 10 times a month. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the next question here is, have you encountered a few issues where a bug comes back to haunt you? If so, how do you approach it?
This is actually probably of all the questions we got sent the easiest one to answer. It's also a bug that's currently on live. It's that flicker bug that everyone continues to talk about.
We find like as developers we're finding certain situations that cause it, but we're not finding all of them.
Yes, we know what the end cause of it. We just cannot find the right combination of steps that actually replicate the bug. That bug's been around since beta, and new iterations of it are constantly being found, and it made me lose all the hair on the top of my head.
Yeah,
swear to
that's
God.
literally how he used to have like a whole head of hair, like
Yes.
down to his waist.
Yeah.
It's totally gone now.
Totally braided. No.
No. All right, our next question here is from Andrew HC at Jackalope13 on Twitter, and he wants to know, how often do you get multiple reports about a single bug, and do you find the increased input easier to figure it out?
This actually happens several times every day, especially any major issues. If
like
logins or
20
servers
people,
go down,
yeah.
we'll get several hundred quick bugs, something like that. What we do to try to maintain that is we have several tracking sheets. We have daily sheets that we put out to the team. They get to put in certain bugs. Then we can do searches in Excel based upon keywords and whatever it is to find which bugs are being repeatedly reported over and over again. If those become more than, say, 10 or 15 reports, then they become higher priority. We try to do what we can to find and identify those issues as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, so keep sending in your feedback, keep sending in your bugs. That's really helpful for us. I mean, sometimes you have a different repro step than someone else, and they did wrong and you found the right one. Or maybe both of you are finding the same issue with a different step process.
Absolutely.
So it's always good.
It helps any information, because there's sometimes we don't even think of some of the scenarios where a bug can occur.
Or you guys don't have time to
Yeah.
actually like black box test things.
Yes,
Right.
to an extent. We always make sure we can cover positive test cases and get whatever we can negatively in.
Yeah. All right. Our next question here is from No One. That's kind of awesome to say. And their question is, how many testing levels are there? Is there a chance for open to player testing? I think he means open player testing servers. And he says, thanks, and Vanu for life.
Yes. Well, I'm actually TR, so that's a little unfortunate. But I'm hoping that what you mean by this is how many servers do we actually get to test on before a build goes live. We currently use 3. The problem, though, or one of the issues that we constantly face is that each server contains a different update on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot of us tracking builds, of being efficient, of believing in the process and not the outcome so that we can get through all this work so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are basically, they get release notes from development sometimes.
Most of the time, yes.
Most of the time when they implement something, these guys are getting that. Then that is going through them to make sure that it's working properly as they tested it, as well as also figuring out ways that it might break. And then from there, it keeps going down through all the processes of QA, main to QA to live test, and then to you guys. So, I mean, we're going through lots of different builds and lots of testing and lots of play testing as well.
And each build gets tens, if not hundreds, of iterations to it too.
Yeah.
So
And they're constantly adding more things and moving things around and publishing new things to it. So yeah, it gets a little crazy sometimes, and you guys have to keep calm.
Yeah, a general work week is around 60 hours. Sometimes we're in excess of 100, sometimes we're 40. It can be all over the place. You have to be ready to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. All right, our last question here is from Wolf J. Havoc, at Wolf J. Havoc, and he wants to know, as a fan of the Trenches webcomic, but not having worked in QA, how accurate do you believe their stories are?
It's like any satire on any job you ever work. It's exaggerated for effect, but there are always some truths to whatever you read. When I first started working in the industry and here at SOE, all my friends and family would ask, is it just like Grandma's Boy?
I was just going to say that.
You know?
I was going to say I always get that.
Yes, everyone of my age and some younger tend to get the Grandma's Boy question. And while we wish it was as realistically
some of it's like that,
crazy as that, it's
like
just
that.
not.
Yeah, it's a little bit more serious than that. You know, they're playing up on things and trying to make things over dramatic. I mean, that's what makes good drama for TV.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's, you know, as work, we are making sure that we're making a good product for you guys and that you're enjoying our game.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and taking some time out of your hectic, crazy schedule to make time for these guys.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, all right.
It's a pleasure.
We hope that you enjoyed that interview with the quality assurance team. Don't forget to check us out every Friday night at twitch.tv/PlanetSide2. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. Toodles!
Sony.